So we have two axes here on this graph, or chart, or whatever you call it. The x-axis, from left to right, goes from realist to idealist. The y-axis, from bottom to top, goes from pessimistic to optimistic. That gives us 4 distinctive groups. Let's see where each of the 16 types ends up. Let's start with ESTPs. ESTPs are high-energy people who delight in that feeling of forward momentum in life. They always have this innate belief that they can make things work out in the end. They are also people entirely put off by daydreaming and speculative notions about how things ought to be. I think I'll put them firmly in the optimistic realist category. ISTPs. In past videos, I've noted a strange tendency for ISTPs to be nihilistic. They're also very much in the mold of the cynic to me. People who pick apart faulty thinking and misguided pretensions. They are pragmatic at their core. Their desire to contend with reality directly is characteristic. I think they belong in the pessimistic realist category. INFJs. As is often the case, INFJs are a tricky type to place. I'd say they are clearly idealistic. After all, it is in their nature to be envisioning things that are not yet the case and trying to make them happen. I could make the case for them being optimistic, but I have noticed that INFJs do carry a sense of sadness with them. The curse of empathy is that you can't help but feel the pain of other people. INFJs also don't have that energetic nature to offset some of the more heavy introspection that they do. I think I'll put them in pessimistic idealists. ENTPs. For the ENTP, there is always a clever way out, a sneaky workaround, or a genuinely brilliant idea underpinned by a deliciously devious scheme to make it happen. Are ENTPs cold, calculating pragmatists? In some sense, yes, but not exactly. ENTPs are constantly being disappointed by the change and risk-averse nature of nearly everyone. That is the common experience of an idealist, so I'm putting them in the top right. ISFJs. ISFJs are people forever vigilant of danger and how things might go wrong. That does mean that their focus is on the negative, often. But almost always, they have an upbeat demeanour. I think their relational nature contributes to this a great deal. They are also very obvious realists in my view. They will start with what they have and what they can do with that. That's a pragmatic frame of mind to have. I'm going to put them slightly above the line in the optimistic realist category. INTJs. INTJs are, in my view, the most conflicted, idealistic type. They truly believe in their ability to make impressive and forward-thinking things happen. They also kind of think that everything is doomed, mainly because other people are idiots. It's their relationship with people, or even society at large, that creates this conflict. If they had minions, there wouldn't be any issues, really. I think I'll put them right on the line between optimistic and pessimistic idealists. ENFPs. This is a tricky one. ENFPs, in my view, have immense duality within them, both playful and carefree, yet also deeply serious in a way that might not be immediately obvious. Ultimately, their allegiance to new possibilities and endless embracing of potential, in combination with them wanting to live out their beliefs and values, I think they belong in the optimistic idealist category. INFPs. INFPs have values that extend into ideals, but are kind of plagued by the amount of unfairness and injustice that they see in the world. So, they often have to contend with the fact that reality isn't measuring up to how they think it should be. Pessimistic idealist seems like a contradiction in terms, but INFPs are the type that most readily embody this paradox. ISTJs. ISTJs are gifted with, and cursed by, an ability to see how things might go wrong. Of course, they also want to stop those negative realities coming to be. Although they plan to mitigate it, this does put them in a state of mind of expecting the worst, often. ISTJs are also thoroughly unpretentious and deeply skeptical of abstract and grand visions. I think this puts them in the pessimistic realist category. ESTJs. ESTJs have a natural expectation that they'll get the job done. This inherent confidence makes them optimistic by default, in my view. I think they are underratedly innovative in their mentality, but ultimately, they value getting the basics of life sorted before anything else. People who try too much too soon will irk them. I think I'll put them in the optimistic realist category. ENFJs. I often talk about the potent and bullish side of ENFJs because that seems overlooked to me in many descriptions of them. Interacting with them in person really gives you a sense of this energy. They are a type who advocate really feeling your feelings. So if they're feeling negative, they won't shy away from that. On balance though, they're typically bright and buoyant. The combination of being both intuitive and people-focused gives them an idealistic flavour almost always. I think I'll put them in optimistic idealist. INTPs. INTPs are tricky to place. Their allegiance to truth and seeing reality accurately makes them realists in that respect. However, their expectation or wish that everyone was that way as well, that everyone also cared as deeply about getting answers, puts them slightly more in the idealist category, in my view. Although they can be disillusioned by the feeling of being at odds with the way most people think, or don't think, ultimately, they do tend to be focused on problem solving and seeking knowledge in a sort of joyful way. I'm going to put them very slightly in the optimistic idealists category. I could make the case for them being in a few different categories though. ESFJs. I don't think I've ever met a pessimistic ESFJ. It's not the case that having a wide social circle makes you happy by default, as every introvert will attest to, but when you're as good at nurturing relationships as ESFJs are, it's a perfect match. Like their ESTJ cousins, they are hardly lacking innovative ideas, but their preference for starting off being grounded is what makes them realists. I'm going to put them in the optimistic realist category. ENTJs. ENTJs are matter-of-fact people. Although they can be academic and intellectual, even then, they are driven by outcomes, ultimately. In that way, they are always in touch with reality. They like to measure success in a way that's pretty objective. ENTJs are often characterized by a certain level of confidence, or at the very least, a confidence in their ability to achieve. I think I'll actually put them in the optimistic realist category. ISFPs. ISFPs are quite a confusing type. They have the stereotype of being artistic, yet to interact with them is to often hear someone really reject what they see as weird and wacky ideas in favour of, if not common sense, then just straightforwardness. So there's a gap between their creative skill and the way they come across. I think they also suffer from the archetypical outsiderness that their INFP cousins also experience. It's a sense of either alienation or just not quite fitting in, or even not really wanting to either. I'm going to put them in pessimistic realists. ESFPs. ESFPs have an innate dynamism to them, a sort of kinetic force. I have often asked ESFPs if they feel confident about their gas tank, their stamina in life. It is usually a resounding yes from them. They are rarely lacking in self-belief. I think ESFPs look upon lots of intuitive types as being kind of cute, in a sort of head-patting way. The response that ESFPs have is often, okay, yeah, cool idea, now do something. I'm putting them in the optimistic realist category. If you like this kind of video, then feel free to suggest some title ideas down below. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, it helps a lot. And if you feel tempted by the dark underworld of the typology community, then join the Love Who Discord server. The link for that is down below in the description of the video.